Hi, I'm Tamara Davison, and I want to welcome you back to another season here at Davison Orchards, a season of great cooking and a season of a lot of growing. So rhubarb's in season right now, and you may have some growing in your yard, so today we're going to make apple rhubarb muffins. And believe it or not, I chose this recipe because we actually have crunchy, sweet, juicy Honeycrisp apples. We never have had them for sale in May at the farm, but they pair perfectly with rhubarb. And we had new technology this year that held them over the winter in what we call a CA storage. And so they're absolutely fantastic for May. So we're going to make a muffin today, apple rhubarb muffins. So the first thing we're going to do is make the topping for the muffins. So it's 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, give or take a little, 3 tablespoons of flour, and I usually use butter for the topping. In the actual muffins, I'm going to use margarine because I don't think it makes a huge difference, but in the topping, I believe it does. And then a little bit of cinnamon, so about a half a teaspoon. And then I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of chopped pecans. Now, the nuts are optional, but I think they add a crunch to the top, so I like to add them if I have them here. So then you need to cut that butter in until it gets to be a fairly fine crumb mixture. So yeah, you're just going to make a fine topping that we're going to sprinkle on top of the muffins, and they do really finish the muffins off beautifully. Next thing we're going to do is cut up the rhubarb and the apple. So I was making this recipe about a couple weeks ago, and I was cutting up the rhubarb. I all of a sudden was overwhelmed by a memory from my childhood. You know, sometimes scents bring back memories, and when I was chopping up this rhubarb, it definitely brought back memories. I grew up in the prairies in Edmonton, and as a kid we used to eat rhubarb straight off the stalk. My mom would give me a little bowl of sugar. We'd dip the end in the sugar and then just eat it like that raw. I was telling Tom about it, and he said, "You're not serious, that's crazy." And I said, "Well, no, all the kids used to do that." So you want to chop the rhubarb fairly fine, because the muffins will be in the oven about 25 minutes or so, so you don't want too big of pieces. And we need a cup of rhubarb. I have a 2-cup measuring cup here, so we'll be about half. I guessed pretty right. There's a cup. All right, and now the apple. So we just use 1 large apple, so it doesn't have to be exactly 1 cup. It should turn out to be close to a cup. Now these are the Honeycrisp I mentioned earlier, and as you can see, they are still very crisp. So I peel the apple and then I quarter it, take out the core. And again, I cut the apples fairly fine, so I cut them lengthwise. For the dry ingredients, we need 2 cups of flour, and I've already pre-measured that. 2 cups of flour, and 1½ cups of brown sugar, and this is actually a 1½ cup measuring cup. And I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of wheat germ. And then it takes 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and that should be good for the dry ingredients. So I'm going to mix that up together. And again, I might get my hands in here to break up the brown sugar so that it's nice and fine. Next, we'll move on to the wet ingredients. We need ½ cup of butter or margarine. I've just popped mine in the microwave. 1 cup of buttermilk. And if you don't have buttermilk at home, I have used regular milk, added a bit of cream, and about a teaspoon of vinegar, and that'll curdle the milk, and then that'll get you very similar to a flavor. But if you've got buttermilk, it's ideal. 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Stir that together so your egg is mixed in nicely. All right, that's your wet ingredients. Next thing you're going to do is take your chopped up fruit, so your apples and your rhubarb. You're going to mix that nicely into the dry ingredients, and then you'll make a well in the middle of your dry mixture and dump all your wet ingredients in the middle. Now this will make a very thick batter, so you don't want to overmix it, but you do need to mix it enough so that the batter is totally moist. So just fold the dry in over top of the wet and gently stir it until it's totally incorporated. It's getting close. Lots of big chunks of fruit. The apple and the rhubarb, like I said, pairs beautifully together, and it also makes a very, very moist muffin, and they keep moist for a long time, like a good 3 days. I use extra large muffin cups, and this recipe will make 12 large muffins. If you prefer a smaller muffin, it'll make about 18. And I always use these parchment. This is an extra large parchment. The beauty about these parchment is that you can eat a muffin warm and you don't lose any of the muffin inside the muffin cup. So while our oven is preheating, we'll get our topping that we prepared before we began, and we'll put a heaping tablespoon of this topping on each muffin. And just sprinkle it on lightly. And as the muffin rises, it'll bake on there beautifully. So I'm going to pop these in the oven, and they should bake for about 30 minutes. So set your timer, because you don't want to overcook these muffins. So I'd set my timer for 25, check them then, and then give them another few minutes if they still need it. So while those muffins are cooking, I'd like to show you a few things. We are so excited that our new cookbook finally arrived. We've been working on it, as we mentioned earlier, for several years, so we're so excited to have it for sale. And since it's rhubarb season, I thought I'd highlight a few recipes in our new cookbook, the Davison Orchards Cookbook, that use rhubarb. We have a rhubarb cake, which is very good, with a side of yogurt or a little bit of whipped cream. We've also got this rhubarb jam, which has become one of my favorites. It doesn't use any pectin, and it's so easy to make. And I've made it, and my family all love it, so it's a really, really good recipe. I've shared it again with some friends as well. And then the last recipe that we have using rhubarb in our cookbook is this rhubarb slush. I've also made this, and it's wonderful for the summer. So while rhubarb's in season, you need to give it a try. Pop it in your freezer, and then you'll have a rhubarb slush for a hot day to surprise everybody. It's an old recipe, but it is absolutely fantastic. So we've got the rhubarb recipes, and we have many, many more using apples and all sorts of different fruit and vegetables that we grow on our farm or that are available in the Okanagan. So when you get a chance, come to the farm and take a look through it. It's a beautiful illustrated cookbook. Been 30 minutes, they should be about ready. Let's just give them a try. I'm going to pop my toothpick in. Comes out clean. They're perfect. There we have it. Apple rhubarb muffins. If you found this video helpful, press the like button and subscribe to more videos. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram for regular updates on Davison Orchards. Thanks for joining me today.